Welcome back to another edition of the White Sox here on OOTP 25, and as you can see, we actually had a nice score this season, so the White Sox making progress here after our above 583 win season, which I believe isn't this like the same record the Reds had where they made the playoffs in real life because the Mets completely collapsed? Apparently, our market size has dropped to average. I don't know how the market drops, but apparently it does. We are no longer whatever it was above this. It is now an average market in Chicago. Don't really know how that's the case, but whatever. And then we don't have any options to decide on, but we do have a player who won the Southern League Best Player, and the runner-up was also a Birmingham Bearing. Samuel Zavala was the runner-up. He ended the season with the Chicago White Sox in the big league club, being a decent player for us up there. We're expecting him to be our full-time either left or right fielder next season. And then the guy who finished with the best season in the Southern League was Walker Jenkins, who we picked up in the Garrett Crochet trade from the Minnesota Twins. The outfielder, 75th best prospect, at least that's what he's ranked. I guess he played a lot of center field. He's definitely not going to be playing center field in the big leagues, I can tell you that much. He'll be playing a corner whenever he gets to the big leagues. It might be this season. You know, we're trying to get juice in the offense. He's a guy who is not eligible for the Rule 5 draft, so we don't have to call him up right now. But if we head into spring training, like he'll be on the spring training roster, and if we head into opening day and he just looks like he's one of our best options to be on the big league team, he'll be on the big league team. So just like with the Fish, we had I guess 2025 would be season 2 in this, but we had a 2025 Southern League Player of the Year. I think we had like 2-3 years in a row in the Southern League with the Fish. I think the first one was a Shedry Vargas, if I'm not mistaken. It was either Vargas or Lara who was first, but I think it was Vargas, and he ended up being a very, very good player for us for a long time. But now Walker Jenkins here getting it in 2025 in this universe. And we're excited about what he can do for us. Obviously, 39 home runs, 100 ribbies, 31 doubles, really, really good season down in AA in Birmingham. So we're excited to see what he can do. And like I said, if he's going to head into 2026 looking like he's one of our best options, he will be on the team, even if I don't necessarily have to add him to the team because he's not Rule 5 eligible. Yeah, so even just looking at our budget right now, 2025, we had a $218 million budget, and it is projected to go down to $204. But I mean, we're used to working with small budgets anyways, so it's not like I'm really, going to be out here trying to sign Shohei Ohtani types every offseason. That's just not what we do here, but, we shall see how it goes. One thing I really want to do this offseason is go through our entire minor leagues. I already didn't bring back all the expiring guys, but we're going to look at the rest of these guys and see, like, is Doris going to be... Yeah, Doris is somebody we want. Or maybe not. He's only average teach pitching. This is definitely a guy who I would maybe prefer to be a bench coach. So maybe if we look at our bench coaches, maybe we end up wanting somebody like Doris here to be a bench coach instead of the guys we have. This guy probably stays, but, like, we might let this guy go and have Doris here be a bench coach for us, or maybe, I think Delmonico, not as good, but still good. But he's another guy who, like, has the good development and mechanics ratings, but he's only an average coach at teaching hitting. But, I mean, we've been dominating AA, so maybe we'll just keep letting Nicky Delmonico be that, or maybe we'll make him the manager, but, like, Sergio Santos has some good ratings as well, so we'll probably let him keep being the manager there. Whereas, like, I guess we don't have any other hitting coaches and pitching coaches, aside from Delmonico and Doris. But Doris definitely, I think, is going to get promoted. I think we're just going to let this guy walk right now. We're just going to go and fire this guy, and then we're going to make Jacob Doris our... which base coach was it? First base coach? He's going to be our first base coach in the big leagues. So now we have this guy who can do all this stuff, and then we also have Doris who can do all this stuff. So, lots of good stuff going around the base coaches there. So this is what we've done. We have promoted Sergio Santos to be our AAA manager as we fired that guy. Nicky Delmonico is now the manager in AA. And then we have Patrick Leland here, who is our manager in A-ball. And then we have a good guy and rookie in Todd Melisakis. He is our rookie ball manager, and everything else is vacant. So we are going to be having to replace all our minor league staff, which is good because we don't want any of those shit coaches down in the minor leagues ruining our prospects. But we're going to, it's going to take a bit to hire all these guys. And then the other thing I wanted to make sure that we did was replaced our trainer after that season from hell of just so many injuries. And I wanted to make sure that we had a guy who does have, I want a well-rounded guy. And now Nick Kenny here is labeled as prevention. He does have good ratings for both, though. He's outstanding at preventing legs, excellent at preventing arms, and then he's also good at rehabbing stuff, average at preventing this stuff, and then good fatigue recovery. So I think Nick Kenny is going to be our new trainer as we fire James Crook after the season from hell injury-wise. All right, I'm not going to go over every single guy, but we have offers out for every single spot, and our management is going to be super, super juiced. I've never actually gone through and talked about my preferences for stuff like this, but I don't just go in here and just willy-nilly hire the guys I just go down the list, 1, 2, 3, and then just, end up down here and these are the last guys to offer. No, I prioritize certain levels needing certain guys. So, I'll have my best development coaches that I can find who I want in A-ball and rookie ball and double A. So it's usually it's regular A, rookie, and double A is that top tier. So I want my absolute best coaches for development in those levels. And then that next tier would be high A, Dominican rookie, and then triple A is more about getting guys, at least how I look at it, it's more about getting guys who can handle aging. So I prefer guys who handle aging here and have mechanics really high, more so than development. I still want development at those levels, but we want mechanics and aging mainly because AAA tends to have a lot of guys who are quad A, who you're trying to hope can a TCR bump. And at least that's how I think about the managers, is that this handle mechanics, influence mechanics rating is at least I think, it affects how guys will just sometimes get better out of nowhere. At least that's how I understand it. Maybe I'm completely wrong on this, but I think that's how it works. Whereas development is just straightforward development and aging is, self-explanatory. But I think that's how mechanics work, so I prefer guys who can handle aging and mechanics at the higher levels. And then, like I said, the first tier being A, rookie, double A, the second tier being high A and Dominican rookie ball, and then the next tier being triple A. So that's just how I tier the minor leagues when it comes to prioritizing where the best guys I can find go. Another thing I should mention is just how much money we have to spend if we really want to go out and spend money. Because right now, we have 55.7 in total money available, 62.1 in money for extensions, and that's before we go into here and decide if we want to bring back or get rid of some of these guys. Before, that number will fluctuate once we get to the free agent portion of the offseason. That's also before we take a look at maybe we want to trade somebody. We'll see what that looks like once we get to free agent period. Also, that number, this giant number, is that high even with our player development cranked up to 30 million and our scouting cranked up to the absolute max as well. So, we want to prioritize development and scouting here. So even with those cranked up that high, we still have this amount of money to spend, but we can always drop it if we ever wanted to spend more money. But, I think 55 million, give or take, is going to be enough to play around with what we want in this offseason. We probably won't even get close to this number, to be honest with you. And now, just quickly running through how we're viewing our team right now, things here can change quite a lot, I would think. But also, we were scrappy this year, and I feel like with our guys' continued development and some guys just having better seasons all around, we are probably going to be able to be a pretty good team again. So I don't want to make too many changes, and I'm not trying to go out there and make huge swings. Like I said, if we do pick up anything, it's probably going to be a starter or two, because this, if we just run through this real quickly. The bullpen, I think these guys are all really solid. And then the only one of these guys who is not going to be able to just sent down to AAA at any time is Mark Leiter Jr., who we will probably be bringing back on a cheap arbitration in $2.6 million because he was good for us in 33 and 2/3 innings. And he's my arch nemesis, but we're still going to bring him back, most likely. So right now we have these guys listed as our guys we think are for sure going to be in our big league bullpen entering next season. There are 7 of these guys listed. That means there is room for one more spot depending on how things go this offseason. Maybe one of these guys has a development change. But right now, these 7 guys are the ones we are looking at to be in our bullpen. Added on +1. It could be one of these guys drops out of the rotation into the bullpen. It could be one of these guys. It could be any number of ways that we shake out how the bullpen is going to look heading into 2026. But right now, I think we're not going to be really adding anything to the bullpen. Like I said, if we add anything, it's going to be like a starting pitcher or two because we have Walker Buehler, who was good in limited time, but he got hurt, obviously, to miss the good chunk of the first part of the season there. So Walker Buehler, still a normal injury proneness. We're hoping he can stay healthy for a whole year and be a good pitcher for us like we were hoping when we signed him to this 4-year deal with 3 years guaranteed. He's already gone through one of them, so he only has 2 more years guaranteed. Now, it is a very cheap 10.5 in like the grand scheme of things, so it's not like we're really, paying out our ass for him. But then the rest of these guys, these are all giant question marks. Drew Thorpe, is he going to be a good starter? We're hoping, but, very possible that we head into the season and he's in the bullpen. Jonathan Cannon, he was probably the most the most steady of all the starters we had this past season. He was just steadily fine the whole season, essentially. So he's like a prototypical 4 or 5. Could he be in the rotation again? Absolutely. Could he move to the bullpen? Absolutely. Could he be in AAA? Sure. Anything's up on the table. Santucci, we're probably leaning towards giving him an actual shot in the rotation. He was split last year between the bullpen and the rotation. You could see, obviously, was much better in the bullpen, but was like serviceable enough as a starter. You could squint and see a good pitcher there. So Santucci, with these ratings, he was a second-round pick for us. Going to give him every opportunity to be a starter here for us this season, and we're hoping that he can be good for us. And then Kai Bush is a player who was also split between being a starter and then a follower, got 5 follower appearances, and was really good in all 5 of them. His strikeout rate went up a bunch. His ERA, ERA and FIP went down. His walk rate stayed the same. His home run rate went down. So, maybe we run him as a follower this year. Maybe he's in the bullpen full time. Anything could happen, but Kai Bush definitely a guy that we like on paper. So Kai Bush, we'll see what shakes out with him. Also, he's the 52nd best pitcher prospect. That's crazy. I guess OSA is a bit higher on him than our scout is, but Kai Bush, we still like him. And then the rest of these guys, Nick Nastrini, could be in the bullpen, could be in AAA. We shall have to see. Landon Knack, we still like him. He's got options. Victor Vodnik, we picked him up at the deadline from the Yankees. He's got options and has some nasty stuff for the bullpen. Shane Smith, on paper, once again, looking like a very good player. He's got options. He'll be around. Jake Eater, lefty, who we've reacquired from the Yankees. And he's a captain. Maybe he ends up in our bullpen. Maybe he doesn't. But we do need probably, I like to have 2 to 3 lefties in our bullpen, so we might end up having Eater as that third lefty, as that extra spot in the bullpen, or maybe we just go 2 lefties. So Jake Eater, he's a possibility. Mike Burrows, he's a possibility. He didn't pitch too much in the big leagues last year. When he wasn't great, but then, was decent in AAA. He's also got options, or at least one more option, so not somebody we're like desperate to move on from, but like some of these guys could get DFA'd if we want to open up spots in the 40-man. Anything can happen, It's not like we have like a bunch of guys that are just totally unmovable, totally, we are set in stone on all of these guys. Some of them, sure, we really like Banks, Kittredge. They're not going to be really going anywhere. at least to start the season, unless, one of them has a horrible year, then, we'll look to probably move on from them. But for now, double barrel stopper of our old guys who debuted very late into their careers in Tanner Banks. And I guess Kittredge didn't debut late in his career. He actually debuted at a normal time. But Banks, and then wasn't Ferguson? No, Ferguson was not a guy like that. Brazabon. Brazabon was the other one I'm thinking of, who only has 3 years of service time despite being 36 years old. He was another guy. He was really good for us. But moving on to the position player side of things, this is how we are viewing the team. And this is the one where we're like, we like a lot of these guys. Like, we want to get these guys playing for us, and I don't really want to move any of these guys out of the starting lineup. Like Caro, we want him catching. We want Brian Ramos at first. We want Brooks Lee at second base. We want Montgomery at third. Workman, the shortstop position, is the one that could be up in the air. We'll get into that in a second here. We want Baldwin in the lineup, and we could have played him at second full-time, but I'm choosing to play him in left field full-time because we have Lee at second base. And then shortstop could be one of 3 options for us at the big league level, who we obviously don't want to play Brooks Lee at shortstop because he doesn't really have that juice in this universe. We want him to be a second baseman, so he's going to play second. Workman, like I said, we'll get to shortstop here in a second, but then Baldwin's in left field. Pache, we're probably going to run him back in center field, give us that elite defense. Hope we can get a little bit more of a juice offensively. And then in right field, it's going to be Samuel Zavala. And then at DH, we're thinking it's going to be Michael Massey again, and hope that he can channel his first half of the season where he was on fire through April, May, June, and then July, August, September. Just so clearly like the second half slump hit him, and hopefully he's able to, channel the first half more so than it was last year. More spread out over the whole season. He's an Illinois guy. Why not give him a chance to be our DH once again? So, we like this 1 to 9. And then, Siegler, Banfield, I'm fine with having them as our backup catchers. Siegler's a leader. Banfield has that really good defensive catching ability. He's also got plenty of options. And then the backups who are set is probably going to be Siegler as the backup catcher. Jeremiah Jackson is going to be our backup infielder at second, third, and short. He was really, really good for us down the stretch, playing second base while Brooks Lee was just terrible. But Jeremiah Jackson, we like him. And then we also have Lloydell Chappelli, who we like his ratings on paper. And then we've got some guys down in the minors who could possibly end up on this in the mix here. One of them being Walker Jenkins, who maybe could end up being an outfielder on this big league team. We'll have to see. We'll maybe, I don't know. We don't really have a guy who can play center between Baldwin and Zavala or even Chappelli. So center field, I feel like has to kind of be Pache. But, things could change. Things are up in the air. But right now, we like this 1 to 9 when it comes to the offense. And then, like I said, the defense, the guaranteed guys are pretty much Siegler, Jackson, and then probably Chappelli or Jenkins as the fourth outfielder. And then I already said Jeremiah Jackson. And the fourth guy, I'm thinking it's either going to be Jacob Berry as a backup switch hitting first baseman, can give you some speed off the bench, has a decent bat against both righties and lefties. He has shown flashes, or at least last year he got off to a good start. We traded for him. We might as well try to see if we can make him work. Or we go with somebody like Jose Peroza as a right-handed bat, a true right-handed bat who has good ratings against both as well. And has a bit more defensive versatility than Jacob Berry, who's just first base. Peraza can play third base at quite a decent level as well. And then also, if we go with Peraza as that fourth guy on the bench, that would then allow us to bench Massey against left-handed pitching and have Peraza be the DH against lefties, like we had Massey this season, only really playing against righties and barely ever touching against lefties. So that's what we want to do. We want to prioritize his strengths as a left-handed hitter. So I think it probably would lean Peraza as that fourth guy. But like I said, things could change. We could acquire guys. We could trade for guys. Anything could happen. Somebody could have a development boost. Somebody could just jump on my radar that I wasn't previously aware of. We will have to see what happens here in this offseason. As far as the shortstop position, like I kept hinting at, there are 3 guys we are looking at to possibly have this spot. Gage Workman, probably the front runner just because he was our shortstop last year, and I just like his profile on paper. Obviously going to have some swing and miss issues, We know that. But he has that 55 BABIP with potential of 60. He has 65 gap power with a really good speed profile to go with it. He has 50 power. The eye, I think, went down. It was 50. Yes, the eye did go down, unfortunately, but still, BABIP, gap power, all above 50. And then he has what looks like very good defensive ratings at shortstop. Unfortunately, he just did not result in anything last year, but I believe this guy can play shortstop, and I want to see if we can make it work. But he's, like I said, one of 3 options. There's him, and then there are 2 guys who we will have to add to the 40-man to keep on our team. Shonshei Sheng, the Taiwanese guy we picked up from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He also is like a slappy hitter, has some decent gap, some eye, some good BABIP to go along with the 70 speed in the gap. 60 across the board of the infield. Not the most ideal shortstop, but he could possibly give us some shortstop. He hit an 8 ZR at shortstop in AAA last year, so stands the reason that he might be able to pick it a bit at the shortstop position. And then the other guy we are considering is Noah Miller, who we picked up from the Los Angeles Dodgers in Season 1. 70 range guy. Had a 2.5 WAR season in AA last year. He's got 50 BABIP, 55 I with 60 potential, 45 gap power with 50 potential, some really good stealing capabilities. Maybe he ends up being our shortstop. Like I said, it's a 3-man race right now between him, between Cheng, and then Gage Workman at the Major League level. So either Workman, Cheng, or Miller will be our Major League shortstop. We shall see which one it'll be, but, it's a 3-man race at this point. Alrighty, so we have gone ahead and added 10 players to our development lab here for the first round of Dev Lab guys. The first one, Gage Workman. We are trying to improve his quality of contact. That is the only thing he has that has some potential ability to unlock there. So we are throwing him in for quality of contact to try to get this BABIP up. And then we are also trying to get Brian Ramos's power up. Obviously, had a huge season for us this year, 26 home runs, 23 doubles, improved quite a bit on his own. We take a look at his scouting page, lots of pluses through 2025, but he still has some potential here in the power category. So if we could get this bumped up even more, that would be fantastic. Turn him into a truly elite power threat at first base. And then we have Edgar Caro, who once again still has some untapped power. So we are trying to see if we can get a bump. Maybe we can even get a potential bump to get this up to 50. We shall have to see. We want to try to turn him into a more of a power hitter here as well to go with his elite, not elite, but like very, very good. His plus gap power and eye, just very good hitter all around, but not quite with the home run power quite yet. But we're hoping we can unlock that here with the Dev Lab. Santucci, we're going to try to increase his velocity. I thought about maybe secondary pitch to try to get this change up. Or off speed, or whatever it's classified as in the Dev Lab. But he only throws 93 to 95, so we're kind of seeing if we can get this fastball possibly and his stuff to tick up to go with the 45 control. So, if he's going to have a lack of control, let's see if we can get that fastball really cranking. So, see if we can do that. Kai Bush, trying to increase his pitch movement. He's an extreme ground ball guy. He's got some potential in the movement. So, just pretty self-explanatory there. We're trying to make his ground ball capabilities more effective. And then there's also Colson Montgomery trying to tap into this power potential that he still has untapped, turn him into a more of a better bat as he struggled for us this season, slumping in his sophomore year after having a very good rookie season with a 3 WAR. And then Samuel Zavala trying to tap into this gap power. I thought about maybe I, but it's already a 60, so I thought maybe try to get a potential boost as well, along with this BABIP, turn him into a really good, just all-around hitter. And then Walker Jenkins trying to tap into his power here. He has 55, but once again, same sort of thing as Brian Ramos, trying to maybe turn him into a truly elite power hitter here. And then we have Noah Miller, trying to tap into his gap power to go along with his speed, maybe turn him into a bit better of a hitter. He already has 50 BABIP and 55 I. If we can get the doubles really racking for him too, that would turn him into a much, much better player. And then we also have Shonshei Sheng, the Taiwanese middle infielder. We're trying to tap into his eye, really take advantage of his speed, really is what I'm trying to do here, is maybe if he gets on base a bit more, he's able to steal a ton more, and maybe he turns into a real weapon for us as like a leadoff type guy who gets on, swipes a ton of bags. We shall have to see if that happens, but that's what we're going for here. So those are the 10 guys we're throwing in the dev lab for the first run through. Alrighty, folks, we have reached the point in the offseason where the awards have been given out here for the 2025 campaign, and your National League MVP is Michael Harris II of the Atlanta Braves, Jordan Walker and Francisco Alvarez behind him, while in the American League, it is Juan Soto of the Detroit Tigers. Then you have Gunnar Henderson, definitely don't look up his high school, and Marcelo Meyer behind him. And then the Cy Young Award winner, Jesus Christ, Brandon Woodruff at age 32 gets the award in the National League. And then over in the American League, it is Jackson Jobe winning the Cy Young. So they get the Cy Young and the MVP in the American League. The Detroit Tigers do. Check out Griffin Jax getting votes. I guess they started him. Griffin Jax is a starter with the Minnesota Twins because he has 35 stamina, so they've been using him in the rotation, and he gets Cy Young votes. That's crazy stuff right there, but then he also has Manuel Clase as a closer getting Cy Young votes. The National League's top rookie is Jet Williams of the New York Mets, Marco Luciano, and Jefferson Caro. Our catcher's brother of the Milwaukee Brewers finishes third. And then in the American League, the Rookie of the Year is Emmanuel Rodriguez of the Minnesota Twins. Brooks Baldwin and Brian Ramos finish second and third for that award. The Reliever of the Year in the National League was Raisel Iglesias of the Atlanta Braves because he had an actual good year in 2025 in this universe. And then in the American League, it is Emmanuel Clase. And check this out, with Tanner Banks and Andrew Kittredge getting votes second and fourth place, respectively, in the American League. Rolaids Reliever of the Year award. And then the real crazy thing is the Gold Glove left fielder, Brooks Baldwin. Gold Glove left. I thought this was a glitch. It might be a glitch because I do remember this from 2020, from OTP 25. There was a couple instances where guys would win the Gold Glove with negative ZRs because they had big arm ratings. I don't know why Brooks Baldwin has an 8.5 arm rating in left field. He only has 45 outfield arm, so I have no idea how that leads to such a good arm rating or arm statistic, whatever exactly that comes into account to. But Brooks Baldwin, Gold Glove winner in 2025. And then obviously Pache does not win it in center field because Jose Siri, despite Pache having the second best CR in the major leagues this season, Jose Siri put up a 28.8 ZR, which is just bonkers. I'm an idiot, and I just realized that I never showed the playoff bracket because I did the thing where I left you hanging at the end of the regular season episode, and then I just forgot to show it here. So the Boston Red Sox are your 2025 World Series champions, beating the Cincinnati Reds, who had a first-round bye. So Red Sox over Reds in the 2025 World Series. There you have it. Alrighty, folks, we have reached the point in the offseason where we have done and signed our international free agent class. So quickly going over another bulk class rather than the top-heavy one, but we did get a really, really good player, or potentially, in Ricky Felix, a Dominican outfielder, 55 range, 60 arm, low financial ambition, decent speed to go along with some 70 gap power, 65 power, and 80 eye potential with a 55 BABIP. Obviously, the guy is going to have some serious swing and miss issues, but the power is looking phenomenal. Going to be like a 3 true outcomes type guy, and we got him for really cheap too. $380,000, that's a bargain. We also picked up a South African outfielder in Robbie Hansen, 65 range, really solid range. Looks like he could have a really solid bat with some good speed as well. Picked him up for $1.3 million. Then we also signed a reliever, Oscar Hernandez, Curaçaoan Dutch. He is a ground ball pitcher, high leader, high work ethic. Looks like he could have some decent ratings. Picked him up for $250,000. Then we also signed an outfielder from the Dominican Republic in Jesus Lopez, 65 range, high loyalty, work ethic, intelligence, low financial ambition, high speed, really good gap power outlook here. Picked him up for $380,000. Then there was also, what was his nickname? Two Shoes. Love it. Richard Shabana, another South African outfielder here from Joburg, as we pick him up for $390,000. And then Lorenzo Capa, a Venezuelan infielder with 65 range, could potentially be a shortstop someday, high adaptability, decent enough bat profile, picked him up for $330,000. Then there was Louis Laughlin, a Bahamian infielder with 60 infield range, probably more of a third baseman with this type of turn DP, but high adaptability, work ethic, decentish bat. Picked him up for $490,000. Then there was Jose Rivera, serious gap power, but really, really good defender, 65 range, 70 arm with 60 error and turn DP to boot. So really solid stuff there, and he's got that decent speed with the line drive hitter gap power profile, 18 years old, at the Dominican Republic for $700,000. And then last but not least, it was Miguel Sandoval, who was a really good defensive infielder, can also give you some outfield as well, potentially, but mainly looked at as an infielder here with 65 range, 70 arm, 60 turn DP. Decent enough bat to go along with this type of defensive ratings, high work ethic. We picked him up for $240,000 out of Dominican Republic. He's also Cuban second nationality. So that was our class here for the IFAs. And then I forgot that we actually had an offer out on somebody else that hadn't gone through yet. Carlos Pena here, not a great defender, probably more of a first baseman DH type, but looks like he could have a really good bat. It is a ground ball profile, so not exactly loving that, but maybe he's able to still be a good hitter nonetheless. Durable as well, 16 years old out of Venezuela for $710,000. And that was our final signing here in the IFA period. Alrighty, folks, we are here at the end of the offseason. We are ready for 2026 opening day. But before we head into that, obviously, and go over what a team looks like, we have to go over everything that happened here in the offseason. So starting off in the month of November, we actually did bring back Caleb Ferguson, who is an expiring free agent. We brought him back on a 2-year deal. It's technically just a 1-year deal at 1.5, but there is a team option at 1.5 in case he has a really good year for us, and we want to bring him back at a cheap deal. Otherwise, we can just get rid of him. So Caleb Ferguson, the lefty, is back on our staff. Now moving on to the month of December, we started off the month by trading Austin Gauthier to the New York Yankees and picking up Rock Reggio and Chase Hampton. We were just trying to remove him off the 40-man roster because we just didn't really have a spot on the team anymore. So we traded him to the Yankees, and they were like, hey, we'll give you Rock Reggio, and we'll give you Chase Hampton, who's extreme fly ball with a 45 home runs allowed, which I do not love, but the rest of these ratings were good enough to where I was like, sure, we'll give this guy a chance. And then Rock Reggio was one of my favorite players at the time when he was at Oklahoma State. Just awesome player at Oklahoma State in those regionals a couple of years ago. Coming off a not great season in Double-A, but he is now in our organization here. And we traded that because we were trying to open up the 40-man roster for specifically Reese McGuire. Reese McGuire was opened up with Will Banfield by DFAing him because we picked up Reese McGuire to be our backup catcher this season. Captain personality class. Bit better framing than Anthony Siegler, so McGuire is now catcher number 2, Siegler is now catcher number 3, Banfield still in the organization, but he is in AAA for us. And then we also picked up a couple different starters here in free agency, the first one being Tyler Mahle, who we signed to technically a 4-year deal here. He was with last season in Texas and with the Chicago Cubs, better with Texas than he was with Chicago. Where he split time between the bullpen and the rotation. But we picked him up here. We like his ratings. Decent player. It was a pretty cheap deal. One of these ones with a bunch of team options that we do. We have him for his age 31 and 32 seasons, guaranteed at $11 million per. And then we have 2 team options at also $11 million for his age 33 and 34 season. So we can decide to bring him back if he is good for us through 2 years. And then we also Ended up trading Jose Rodriguez to open up some spot on the 40-man roster to the Washington Nationals because I just didn't think he was really ever going to get a chance to really play for us. So we traded him, and we ended up picking up Andrew Pinckney, who at the time was also a 45 potential like Rodriguez, and was not available for the Rule 5 draft. So I was like, sure, we'll pick up this guy. Coming off a good season in AAA, but unfortunately, now down to a 40, has docked a ton, so now we have this guy who just stinks, and the Nationals have Jose Rodriguez, who actually looks like he could maybe possibly be something if this develops, so that might be a bummer of a trade. And then in the Rule 5 draft itself, we only lost a couple of guys who we really didn't value really at all. Grant Holmes, we brought in on a minor league deal last season, didn't really do anything for us. I was just like, sure, whatever, he can go. And then also Braxton Ashcraft, who has the horrible home runs allowed, wasn't really valuing him that highly anymore. So we let both of them just walk through the Rule 5 draft. Then we move things on into the month of January, where we ended up picking up a couple other starting pitchers to add to our staff. The first one being Marcus Stroman on a 1-year deal. When we signed him, he was a 50 overall. You could see here it's recently gone down at the start of spring training, I believe. But overall, still looks like a decent pitcher, high leader, extreme ground ball guy. We like those types. Sign a veteran pitcher, add him to the staff, see if he could be good for us here on a 1-year deal. At $15.5 million, sure, whatever. He's going to be a starter for us, eat some innings, hopefully be pretty good for us. He's coming off a decent 2-war season with Texas. And then we also picked up Chris Paddack on a 4-year deal. Now, he is a bit disappointing because, of course, when we signed him, he was a 55. This home runs allowed was not a 45 because I definitely wouldn't have signed a guy to a long-term deal if he had a 45 home runs allowed the whole time. You can see here he's had some stuff recently go down. This was a 50 when we signed him, unfortunately. But once again, it's very similar to the Malley deal where we have him for 2 years guaranteed, and then there's 2 team option years. A bit more expensive at 18.5, but still not really breaking the bank considering how much money we had to throw around at players. So Chris Paddack, coming off a good season in St. Louis. Hopefully he can repeat that for us here with the White Sox. And then already a good start to his tenure here with Chicago with our new trainer, as we did not have a single injury in spring training, which is just fantastic stuff. And we head into 2026 fully healthy. This is what we are rocking here on the pitching side of things. The rotation, Walker Buehler, Chris Paddack, Tyler Malley, Jonathan Santucci, and then Marcus Stroman. While in the bullpen, it's Tanner Banks and Andrew Kittredge as the double-barrel stoppers. We have Jordan Liesier, Mark Leiter Jr., my arch nemesis, Huascar Brazoban, Caleb Ferguson, Jake Eder, and Jason Foley as the arms in the bullpen. While on the hitting side of things against righties, it's going to be Caro, Baldwin, or let's just go position. So catcher, Caro, first base, Brian Ramos, who has had a serious development here. Really expecting him to be a super good player for us this season. So that's going to be fun to see what he can do for us. Brooks Lee is at second base. Colson Montgomery is at third. And then we have Xiangshui Sheng at shortstop. 60 range, 60 across the board defensively. Looks like he could be a good player. He's a 50 overall. We're hoping that he's going to be good for us. He put up a 8 ZR at shortstop in only 31 games in AAA last year, so we're hoping that he can come up and be a good shortstop for us here at the Major League level. And then we also have in left field Brooks Baldwin, Christian Pache in center field, Samuel Zavala in right field, and then Michael Massey is DHing for us while against lefties. The only thing that changes is that Jose Peroza is our DH as Michael Massey goes to the bench because Peroza can hit against lefties. Really solid ratings here against lefties. And then Michael Massey is obviously more suited to hit against righties, and that's what he was doing for us last season. We decided not to have Walker Jenkins on the big league team to start the year. I could have done so, but the thing about him is I wanted to have him start if we're going to bring him up. So whenever we call him up, we want him playing every day. So he's going to start the season in AAA Charlotte. And I'm sure he'll be up at some point this year when an injury happens or something. But if we do call him up, we're going to want it to be like a long-term injury because we don't want to just call him up, burn an option. He's going to come up. and be a starter whenever he comes up and plays. If somebody in this lineup struggles or gets hurt long term and we can push Jenkins into this lineup, then that's going to be his opening. But for now, it's going to be Baldwin, Pache, Zavala, and Chappelli, our 4 outfielders here on the opening day roster. And then just quickly going over what our Dev Lab results were this offseason. Just going over the successes here in the first tier. Brian Ramos, huge bump here. Potential power went up by 5, current power up by 10. You can see here a 65 65 current power right now. 65 against lefties, 60 against righties. He's no slouch against righties. We are expecting big things from Brian Ramos this season. And then we also had a successful dev lab for Santucci as his velocity went up a little tick. Nothing too crazy, but just a tad bit. And then we also had a couple successful ones in Noah Miller, improving his gap power, as he looks like to be a little bit better of a hitter now. And then we also have Xiangxie Sheng, who improved his discipline, which is 55. So we are excited about those. And then on the defensive side of things, we had a successful improvement for Mateo Heel, who was a guy we picked up from the Mets last trade deadline. He's starting the year in AAA. A little bit better of an infield defender now. We also had a big improvement for Michael Massey, as he looks like he could actually pick it at second base quite well now. So if we need to ever put him at second, or whatever it may be, Michael Massey actually looks like he could really play defense at second base now, rather than just being a DH for us, which he is to start the season. But like I said, if we do need to move him to the infield, he's very capable in the infield now. And then we also had a successful improvement for Brooks Lee. Not quite what it was at the Marlins, where he's all of a sudden like a shortstop type guy, but he could. We may at some point move him to shortstop. Maybe we move Massey to second base, and that opens up DH, and we're able to call up Walker Jenkins. Things are fluid. We're able to adapt to what's going on, but for right now, Brooks Lee looking like a very good second base defender at the very least. And then just quickly going over the preseason predictions here, as the Red Sox, Orioles, Rays are all projected to win 90-plus games, with the Yankees at 89, an absolute just beating each other up division in the top 4 there in the American League East. While in the Central, the Twins are projected to win with 90. The Guardians behind them, Tigers, then us with 75 wins is our prediction, but we'll see if we can outplay that. We outplayed it last season. We were above 500 last year. We're going to hope to see if we can sneak into the playoffs in the wild card this year. That's my goal, honestly. And then in the West, it's the Rangers, Astros, Mariners, all projected around 80-ish wins. While on the National League side of things, the Braves projected to run away with the NL East division. While in the Central, it's the Cardinals winning it, with the Reds, Cubs, and Brewers all scrappy behind them. Even the Pirates only 79 wins behind them. And then in the West, you have the D-backs, Dodgers, Giants, and Padres all projected to be solid teams in the National League this year. Really solid division out there. The NL West and the AL East seem to both be powerhouses, or at least that's what's predicted heading into 2026. And now I'm going to go listen to the Geese album for like the 80th time already.